'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads, and Mamma in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out of the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from the bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the lustre of a midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver, so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all! As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the house top the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur, from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry, his cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke had encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know that I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside on his nose, and gave a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew, the down of a thistle. But I heard him explain, ere he drove out of sight, Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night. That, of course, is 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, which is an absolutely wonderful, wonderful thing. It truly is. It's probably one of my favourite poems of all time because it describes the operations of one of the most interesting individuals of all time. Someone who literally exists to bring joy to the world. And that is surely something we all need more of. And every Christmas, that is what Santa delivers. That is what Santa Claus does deliver. As my cousins well known, because I read them that poem most years on Christmas Eve to the young ones, and I still do. It is an important poem, and it is a good story because Santa is real. He is. Now, you might be wondering, why does this fit in a naval history? How? Well, you see, Santa's sleigh has always interested me as a flying machine. It truly has. Because, you see, it is the oldest ongoing program of vertical short takeoff and landing program we have on this planet. It is a system which is tremendously successful, that travels at tremendously high speed, does extraordinary levels of precision with delivery, and yet no one's been able to replicate it. Amazon, all these companies spend billions trying to build drone systems and all these things, and none of them can replicate it. It's terrible. But it shows the value of magic. It shows the value of belief, and it shows the value of St. Nicholas, of Santa Claus. And also, it gives us a very interesting thing to study. It really does. So today's key aircraft is Santa's sleigh. And that is what we'll be looking into. So the origins, well, we know a long time ago it was a very simple affair. It had maybe one reindeer pulling it, and it didn't really have to service as the same volume of population. Now, in the 1820s, they were drawing illustrations of what they perceived Santa to be like and what his arrangement with his sleigh was like, because they had limited information. He's very quick, very efficient. He doesn't really hang around. You know, that poem, if you think about that poem and the time it took me to read, the 3 minutes it took me to read, there was only about a third of it was Santa actually in the property. He's very, very quick. And he owes that all to his reindeer. Let's be honest, the reindeer and sleigh working together are what enable him to really achieve the total world delivery service. Truly a startling feat of logistics. Something which, frankly, all navies could learn from. They really could learn from. But the originals are a single reindeer. But, you see, well, as the world's population grew, more and more presents were needed to be carried. You needed to have higher speed. You had to have certainly more ability to deal with the sheer volume of tasks, but also to deal with the fact that you're putting more and more pressure on the reindeer. So, as time goes on, it starts to be realised when there's real sort of cartographical history going on, pictographical history definitely, of Santa Claus, we start to realise that in about the 1820s, when world population is starting to expand, so are the reindeer. So is the size of the sleigh. They're growing. So was Santa's belly, but maybe like the antlers, this is part of the magic. Now, I have to say, when you get into this, one of the interesting things often discussed with Santa, of course, are the magical reindeer which provide him with the power, infused as they are with the magic of Christmas, are they the same as more normal reindeer? Now, we've never been able to get scientists close enough to study the magical herd. They seem to be very good at avoiding humans, who they mostly seem to find kind of bemusing creatures and like to dance away from. So we haven't been able to study them closely to whether they're like more regular reindeer, which of course it's the lady deers, which manage to keep their antlers in the winter season. That would certainly explain most of the names of Santa's reindeer, if they are that way. That would certainly explain the names. But then there's Rudolph. Now, there's also the fact that whilst Rudolph is of course pictured for having a red nose, the other male reindeer might be similarly affected by magic and might have other issues. They might have brightly covered hooves or tails. We don't really have enough information to ascertain exactly why Rudolph's red nose makes him specifically special, and whether he is normal in that he seems to retain his antlers at winter period, or whether it is something abnormal to go along with the nose. And again, there are discussions as to whether it's because of his mother's involvement in the Santa operations. Maybe it was so heavily involved in the sleigh duties that she absorbed so much magic that it actually managed to pass on to her male offspring, as well as rather than just concentrating in the female line. We really do not know. We need to do more study on this, but again, one of the serious problems you have with all this is the fact that their space in the North Pole seems to be hidden. It's very difficult for anyone to really locate their position. Many claim to have seen, but they can never remember where they've seen it. Many claim to have ideas of what it's like, but they cannot say for definite where it is because they cannot seem to remember. It seems to be more that the place is protected not so much by a shield of you will not find, but a shield of you will forget. Which, after all, when dealing with humans, is probably more practical, because we're always so good at forgetting things. We really are. Now, I have to admit also, there is quite a lot of problems that Santa seems to have had with personnel when expanding their team. There is sometimes this is, I have to admit, is put down to, meeple misunderstanding names, but from what I've discovered in my own research, it seems to be that there was a bit of a personnel issue. Just a small issue at a certain point. He originally seems to have had Dasher, now Dancer, Prancer and Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Dunder, and Blixen. Dunder and Blixen. But Dunder and Blixen don't seem to work out that well. There seems to be some issues. They don't seem to enjoy meshing with the team. They don't seem to be good team players, sadly enough. And so they had to be changed for Dunder and Blitzen. Two very, very, very hearty reindeer who have served very well ever since. It's really been a good change, a good step up. And again, the good thing about magical reindeer, which seems to be the case, is they seem to live for quite a long time. What's really interesting is the description, of course, is more rapid than eagles, his courses they came. Now, this is an important thing to think about. For quite a lot of time, the fastest moving object people could really imagine in the sky was eagles, was birds of prey. Because we didn't have the Mach numbers. In 1823, if you turned around to someone and gone, "So what's your Mach number?" they'd look at you as if you're insane. Going faster than the speed of sound? No, surely no one could do that. No one could do that. No. So faster than eagles, it's about the best they can imagine it. They can put it in the phraseology. And this is one of the things which causes some poor adults, misguided adults, to believe that Santa doesn't exist. It's terrible, really. It's truly, but it's misunderstandings of text like that which really do cause issues. It does. It's terrible. But when we start to look through the text and we put ourselves in the mindset of the people and their time period and their points of reference, well, that's a very different matter. Then it starts to make sense. When you read history forward, that's always when you can find the truth, when you can find the reality. Now, this has been carrying on, and at a certain point, once you sort of get into this, whilst he has the 8 reindeer, the world is getting a lot more complicated, a lot more threatening, and Santa is even more important. Now, during World War I, of course, the concept of anyone actually interfering with Santa and his operations was laughable. Frankly, the man could have not even outfought, would have outflown the entire world's air forces in half a second with, probably 7 reindeer on strike and just one just putting in half effort. The aircraft would really not up to the scratch. But during World War II, things looked a bit more threatening. There was radar. There was all sorts of things, and there were some really, really nasty people in the world. Luckily, Santa made it through, but there were worries, even in 1949. And, well, at points, the world's militaries do all say they all pledge to protect him. They all pledge to make sure that Santa gets through safely. They understand his value to the world. But what we have in the modern day circumstance really owes itself to 1955, when, officially, it's a Sears advert gone wrong. They mistakenly give out the number to Colorado Springs Continental Air Defense Command. Or it's a 1-digit misprint. It's either a 1 digit is mistyped by someone or 1 digit is misprinted, and it's put in by a child, and the child calls up Conrad. And they end up talking to Colonel Harry Shoup. Now, a gruff Air Force colonel does his best with a child on the phone asking how safe is Santa. Of course he's going to be fine. Don't worry about it, sort of thing. But Shoup goes away and thinks about it. And worries about, children might, worried about this, rightly worried about Santa. What are we going to do? And so he has a talk about how to reassure the children. And they decide to put out a note saying Conrad, Army, Navy and Marine Air Forces will continue to track and guard Santa and his sleigh on his trip to and from the US against possible attack from those who do not believe in Christmas. I realise there's a movie coming about soon which addresses just this issue. This has been an important point for many, many years. And don't worry. Ever since this, there has been a growing involvement of the armed forces in trying to illustrate not only how protected Santa is, but where he is. This is where we have the successor of Conrad, NORAD's. They usually do this lovely tracking system, which if you want to, you can go and watch. Now, it is not a perfect system. In fact, it's specifically not a perfect system, because whilst it's supposed to show where Santa is in terms of his operations, how fast he's getting around, it specifically does not show his exact route. Specifically does not show, to prevent those who oppose Christmas, those who are anti-Christmas, those who do not bring the joy of Christmas, and I'm not talking about just the Easter Bunny here. That might be an ongoing dispute as to which is the most popular holiday, but the Easter Bunny doesn't get it out. It doesn't get beyond chocolate being slung between the two, so we don't need to worry about that too much. It's just chocolate, and frankly, between those two, they have enough to go around. It isn't going to cause any trouble. But there are other nastier forces in the world who do not like Christmas. But don't worry, Santa is going to deliver it, and NORAD is there to look after it. As are NATO and all sorts of other organisations around the world, all sorts of defence organisations, they get together. It's kind of like a successor to the Christmas truce of World War I. All the armed forces of the world unite for this one mission, to make sure Santa gets through unobstructed. However, I've already given a bit of an allusion to the Rudolf Paradigm earlier, and it's worthwhile noting that whilst Rudolf was tried out in 1948-49 first, again, it seems to be a reflection to experiences of previous Christmases, and one of the problems you have with Christmas only happening one night a year, it can mean it's a slow experience build-up to realise there is a problem or an actual issue. It can be, oh, that was just this year. But after a while, they start to realise that there is so much air traffic now that you need not just the lights on the sleigh, because the sleigh has been a light thing, shines brightly in the night, which pilots are able to spot, but you couldn't see the reindeer out the front. The training just didn't carry on through them. And this is the interesting thing, because this is where Rudolph really becomes useful. Of course, it's often on a foggy Christmas Eve that Santa comes to say, Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight? That is an important point when Santa does that. But you have to realise it's not just been kept going for fog. It's been continued ever since, because there is always the risk of running into fog and other storms, and planes need to know where the end of the sleigh is so they can make sure they give it a wide enough berth. It's going so fast as it is, it's difficult, but it helps. And this is important. This is important for modern flight control. So it really does show Santa has kept up with the current and ongoing issues in aviation safety. The fact that Rudolph is now part of the team. Although, how that comes in the traditional sayings, I'm not so sure, but, you know, I'm sure it's sort of Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Dunder and Blixen, and Rudolph, keep your nose on. Oh no, Dunder and Blixen were the two, of course, who didn't make it through. It's now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donder and Blitzen. Rudolph sounds better at the end, don't we think? Santa has been providing this service for millennia now. It is truly a great service to the world he does every Christmas Eve, on the night of the 24th to the 25th of December, around the world delivering toys to all little girls and little boys, making sure people get the best Christmas he can give them. That is a great thing. And that is why in this spirit of this year we also tend to give presents to each other. Because it is a great time of year to show people how much you care about them, how much they mean to you. And that gift can be time, because there are so many lonely people at Christmas, especially adults, but children as well. And sometimes the gift of time is all that's needed to make their lives shine that little bit brighter. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. There are more regular naval history videos coming up over the Christmas season, including one which I'm specifically looking forward to, two historians on the Monday the 23rd of December, which will involve the wonderful, the one and only Sam Merkiagos. And well, that might be moved depending on that depends on whether I record the next one. That might get moved to Christmas Day, because Sal would be a good one for Christmas, and then HMAS Diamantina will be on Monday, but we'll see. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Take care, and Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.